Long before DVRs and YouTube skips, we watched every second of the commercials because they were part of the show. From jingles we still hummed to characters that felt like family, these 14 ads weren't just selling products, they were shaping culture. This is 14 commercials every black kid from the 80s and 90s still remembers. If it made you smile, hit that subscribe and let's take it back. McDonald's, Calvin got a job. Commercial, 1980s. Did you hear? Calvin got a job at McDonald's. That one line sparked pride in every black household that watched Saturday morning cartoons or evening sitcoms. The commercial followed young Calvin, a clean-cut, hopeful teenager, on his journey from street corners to gainful employment at McDonald's. And let's be honest, black families rooted for him like he was one of our own. In neighborhoods where opportunity often felt scarce, Calvin represented possibility. Every time the ad came on, uncles nodded their heads like, "Now that's a good young man," and Mom said, "You see that? That could be you." It wasn't just about burgers and fries. This was an ad drenched in cultural relevance. Calvin's success was everyone's success. And McDonald's knew how to sell that message. That signature golden hue, upbeat background music, and smiling faces made it memorable. It became more than a commercial. It was a short story, a narrative, a symbol of what the community valued. Hard work, humility, and a little shine. And don't forget that final shot, Calvin walking out of McDonald's in uniform, greeted by neighborhood praise. Jills, cocoa butter and Afro Sheen ads, 1980s local TV. You knew it was time to get ready for school or church when Afro Sheen and cocoa butter ads took over your TV screen. These weren't flashy national ads. These were made for us, local, relatable, loud. The commercials would always feature a smiling black man or woman with the smoothest skin or the shiniest afro you'd ever seen. They'd glide across the screen while a voiceover said something like, "Bring out the natural glow in you with Afro Sheen." Everything about it felt real. Black beauty was front and center. Products like Star Soft Fro, Blue Magic, or Queen Helene Cocoa Butter were household essentials, and the commercials reflected that. Kids giggled when the voiceover said, "Softens rough, dry skin," because we knew Mom was going to slather us in it before school, whether we liked it or not. And the jingles? Smooth, jazzy, and comforting, like your aunt's radio playing in the background while she pressed your hair. These ads made us feel seen. They weren't selling a fantasy. They were showing us to us. And we never forgot that. Toys are us. I don't want to grow up. Jingle, 1980s, 90s. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. The anthem of every childhood Saturday, this commercial was pure magic. Kids running through aisles, grabbing action figures, bikes, games, wide-eyed and smiling from ear to ear. For black kids, it was more than a toy store. It was a wonderland, and when the ad played, we were glued. You'd see Jeffrey the giraffe dancing, kids singing in harmony, and every kind of toy you dreamed of magically floating across the screen. We'd turn to our parents with that hopeful look, silently begging to go. For many, just a trip to walk around Toys R Us was the highlight of the week. The commercial made us believe growing up wasn't necessary, not when you could live in a toy-filled world of joy. And admit it, you still know that jingle word for word. Honeycomb cereal, big bite commercials, 1980s. Honeycomb's big, yeah. This was breakfast hype. The commercials were wild. You had this surreal honeycomb hideout where kids hung out, talked cool, and chomped down cereal so big it barely fit in the bowl. It was over the top, but we loved it. What made it iconic for black kids was the energy. It felt like a cartoon and music video rolled into one. The dancing, the rhyming, the exaggerated bites, all designed to fire up your imagination before school. You'd sit there munching a spoonful, pretending you were in that hideout with your crew. And when the honeycomb kid busted out a rap or breakdanced, instant legend status. Breakfast wasn't boring anymore. It had theme music, My Buddy and Kid Sister Doll commercials, 1980s. My buddy, wherever I go, he goes. If you were a boy in the 80s, there was a 50-50 chance you either had a My Buddy doll or wanted one, but were too shy to ask. That commercial was everywhere, and it stuck in your head like a nursery rhyme. For black kids, it was one of the first dolls marketed specifically to boys. And even though the dolls didn't always look like us, the idea of having a friend you could take everywhere was powerful. Then came Kid Sister, with the exact same jingle, just slightly higher pitched. Every little black girl who saw that ad wanted her own doll she could dress, carry, and care for. The visuals were soft and happy. Kids riding bikes, having tea parties, swinging in slow motion, all with their dolls. It was sweet, safe, and full of innocence. The jingle became cultural currency. Everyone sang it, even if they didn't own the doll. Double Dutch jump rope, public service ads, 1980s. Before social media challenges and TikTok dances, there were Double Dutch battles on the block. And believe it or not, they even made it into TV ads. These weren't commercials selling anything. They were public service announcements about community, teamwork, or just having fun safely. But they always featured young black girls absolutely killing it in the ropes. You'd hear a funky beat, see beads flying, and sneakers hitting the pavement with rhythm that could rival any metronome. The visuals were electric, two girls swinging ropes in perfect unison, while one in the middle danced, twisted, flipped, and freestyled like it was the Olympics of jump rope. If you were a black girl watching those ads, you felt that energy. And if you were a boy, you watched in awe. Everyone tried to mimic those moves on the playground, even if you ended up tangled and embarrassed. Some of those PSA-style spots even had taglines like "Play smart," "Stay active," or "Build skills." But let's be real, we didn't care what the message was. We were watching to see the best double dutchers on TV and then run outside to start our own tournament. No prize needed, just bragging rights. Those spots didn't sell toys or cereal. They sold pride, confidence, and culture. McDonald's Ain't No Stopping Us Now Olympics ad, 1984. McDonald's didn't just sell burgers in the 80s, they sold moments. And during the 1984 Olympics, they dropped a commercial that still gives people goosebumps. Set to the powerful McFadden and Whitehead anthem, Ain't No Stopping Us Now. The ad featured black kids running track, jumping rope, and high-fiving teammates, all in slow motion, golden sunlight washing over them. The voiceover talked about dreams, goals, and how McDonald's was cheering you on. To black families, this commercial meant something deeper. Representation was rare on national TV, but here were kids who looked like us, shining, sweating, smiling, winning. Our moms cried, our dads nodded in approval, and we watched with wide eyes thinking, that could be me. The visuals weren't flashy, just real. Neighborhood tracks, playgrounds, local parks. But the vibe? It felt like the whole community was being uplifted, and of course, at the end, it faded into the golden arches. McDonald's knew what they were doing, tying family, pride, ambition, and food into one unforgettable message. That song became more than a jingle. It was a declaration. To this day, when Ain't No Stopping Us Now plays, we don't just hear a song. We remember that summer, that commercial, that feeling. Soul Glow, Coming to America, 1988. Okay, technically a fictional commercial within a movie, but let's be real. The Soul Glow ad from Coming to America was so iconic, people thought it was real. Just let your soul glow. That falsetto jingle lives rent-free in every black millennial's head. It was cheesy, it was dramatic, and it was perfect. A man flips his hair in slow motion, leaving a greasy stain on the couch as the camera pans over sparkling curls. Even though it was satire, the ad hit home because it mirrored so many real hair product commercials from the 80s and early 90s, high gloss finishes, wild confidence, and slightly ridiculous production value. It was all too familiar. Kids cracked up every time it aired. Adults nodded, knowing it was poking fun at the black hair product boom. But underneath the humor was a cultural reality. Hair was serious business. Soul Glow may have been fake, but the style, the pride, and the memory, all real. People still reference this commercial in memes, barbershops, and family reunions. If it gets played at a throwback party, everyone sings along. That's cultural imprint. That's legendary. Juicy Juice commercials, 1990s. 100% juice for 100% kids. Those Juicy Juice commercials had a certain tone, gentle, warm, and totally geared toward parents and kids. But let's not ignore the facts. The black kids drank Juicy Juice like it was liquid gold. And the commercials, they knew their audience. You'd see a black mom in the kitchen pouring a cup of Juicy Juice while her kids did homework or laughed at the table. Sometimes there'd be a picnic, other times a family reunion setting. It always screamed togetherness. The visuals were rich with love, glowing natural light, fresh fruit in the background, and that iconic rectangular Juicy Juice box on the counter. The music was soft, almost lullaby-like. But the best part? The voiceover. Juicy Juice, 100% juice for 100% kids. That line stuck in your brain. You'd be in school drinking from your box, repeating it like a slogan from a superhero. The commercial didn't need gimmicks. It just showed love, health, and family, all values deeply rooted in black households. And that made it unforgettable. Folger's Best Part of Waking Up, ads 1980s, 1990s. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. That jingle is practically tattooed onto the brain. But for black families in the 80s and 90s, the Folgers commercials were more than morning coffee. They were morning ritual. You'd see a mom quietly brewing a pot before the rest of the house stirred, a son coming home from college, a dad reading the paper. These commercials always had this smooth, almost cinematic glow to them. Golden sunlight, cozy sweaters, and steam rising from the cup. For us, that coffee pot was background music to our childhoods. The smell of Folgers meant the start of something. Church morning, Sunday cleaning, or a house full of family getting ready to eat. Some ads even featured soulful renditions of the jingle, complete with harmonies that reminded you of church choirs. And every black mom had that red canister somewhere in the kitchen. Folgers commercials weren't flashy, but they felt real, and they wrapped their message in warmth, consistency, and comfort, just like home. Capri Sun, You're Not Just a Kid commercial, 1990s. Capri Sun wasn't just a drink. It was a movement for every black kid in the 90s. That iconic silver pouch held more than juice. It held power. The commercials knew that. They made kids feel like they were doing something futuristic, something bold. You weren't just sipping, you were fueling up. In one of the most memorable commercials, a group of diverse kids, including that one black kid with a high-top fade and oversized T-shirt, drinks Capri Sun, and suddenly they morph into liquid silver and zoom across the screen. That animation blew our minds. We ran to the kitchen to grab our own pouch, thinking we'd morph too. These ads didn't just show kids playing, they showed us as heroes, explorers, action stars. That mattered. For young black boys and girls, it was rare to be centered in a high-energy, fun, adventure-based ad. Capri Sun said, "You belong here." And then there was the line, "Capri Sun, it's liquid cool." That tagline was gospel in school cafeterias. Anyone who brought one in their lunch was instantly respected. Some of us even tried to reuse the pouches like trophies. The commercials also had an unspoken truth. These weren't luxury snacks. They were accessible. Your auntie with food stamps had them. Your mom with the big Sam's Club haul brought home the 30-pack. It felt good to have something cool that everyone could afford. Capri Sun commercials gave us identity and excitement. Whether it was the foil shine, the hard-to-poke straw, or the wild transformations, it cemented itself in the memory bank of every kid from that era. We didn't just drink it, we lived it. Honeycomb cereal. Big taste. Commercials. 1980s, 1990s. If you were a cereal-loving black kid in the 80s or 90s, you definitely remember Honeycomb. Not just for the taste, but for the wild, unforgettable commercials that practically jumped off the screen. These ads weren't just about breakfast. They were full-blown Saturday morning events. One of the most iconic Honeycomb commercials featured a group of kids hanging out in what looked like the ultimate kid clubhouse. Tree houses, slides, neon graffiti, the works. Then suddenly, boom, in comes the Honeycomb Kid, or that wild Craver character crashing through the scene like a sugar-powered tornado shouting, "It's big! Yeah, yeah, yeah!" The commercial always included at least one cool black kid, usually rocking a colorful jacket, a flat top or braids, and a smirk that said, "Yeah, I eat this every day." That inclusion mattered. For many of us, seeing someone who looked like us front and center in a high-energy, chaotic, fun environment wasn't common. Honeycomb made it feel like our cereal, too. Let's not forget the jingle, Honeycomb's big, yeah, yeah, yeah. It got stuck in your head instantly. You'd sing it while pouring your bowl. And somehow, no matter what house you were in, your cousins, your grandmas, even at a sleepover, it always hit the table in that giant yellow box. And culturally, it carried a vibe of independence. Those kids didn't need parents in the commercial. They had bikes, cereal, and pure energy. It was about us. The commercial screamed, "This cereal is big, bold, and just like you, full of personality." Honeycomb commercials gave black kids a seat at the cartoon cereal table. They were colorful, loud, fun, and totally unforgettable. California Raisins, I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Late 80s. Let's be real. No raisins had any business being this cool. But in the late 80s, the California Raisins were stars. And for black kids, that funky Motown jingle, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, combined with those claymation characters, made this one of the most unforgettable commercials ever. The ad opens with anthropomorphic raisins, each with shades, swagger, and real soul. They come to life on stage like a miniature Temptations act, singing their hearts out to a full Motown groove. The animation was smooth. The vocals were rich. It wasn't just a commercial, it was a performance. What made it even more special was the cultural nod. I Heard It Through the Grapevine was a Marvin Gaye classic, already etched into black musical memory. Now kids were hearing it during cartoons or before primetime TV, but sung by raisins with rhythm. Somehow, it worked. Black families laughed, nodded, and even recorded these commercials on VHS. The characters were so popular they got merchandise. Figurines, T-shirts, even a Christmas special. Black kids collected them like Pokemon. And schools? They played the song during talent shows. It became a vibe. The California Raisins weren't trying to be urban. They were soul. Without tokenism, without cringe, just cool characters doing a cool thing with a classic black song, and that's why they were accepted. Even now, people hear Grapevine and immediately picture those dancing raisins. That's cultural staying power. Cocoa Pebbles, Barney and Fred commercials with breakdancing, 1990s. Yes, Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble had been selling Cocoa Pebbles for decades, but in the 90s they turned hip-hop, and black kids everywhere took notice. One unforgettable commercial started with Barney stealing Fred's Cocoa Pebbles, as always, but suddenly, record scratch, Barney's in parachute pants, breakdancing across the kitchen. Fred joins in, and the whole ad turns into a rap battle over cereal. It was wild. It was awkward. It was amazing. Why did this stick so hard with black kids? Because it was the first time a classic cartoon leaned into our world. Hip-hop, street dancing, boom boxes. Suddenly, these Stone Age guys were in our universe. And though it was corny by today's standards, back then it felt like the world was taking notice of our culture, even if it came through animated cavemen. Plus, Cocoa Pebbles was a legit favorite in black households. It was sweet, crunchy, and made your milk taste like chocolate heaven. And the commercials reflected that fun. The jingle had a bounce. The rhymes were simple but catchy. And honestly, we rooted for Barney every time. The animation, the beat drops, the exaggerated dancing, it was all designed to capture attention, and it worked, especially for kids flipping through channels after school, just waiting for something familiar to show up. Cocoa Pebbles' rap ads brought Saturday morning into the after-school spotlight, and for black kids watching, it felt like cereal companies were finally speaking our language, even if it came with a prehistoric twist.